has Louis stuck his head into another pot of trouble? Well, it's none of my business, really. Anyway, I'm Coco, a merchant by trade. Stop by if you need anything.
Yo, baby, you have your asshole licked by a fat man in an overcoat?
Code Vein. I think I like it. I think I really do. It's kind of growing on me. Basically, if you don't know what Code Vein is, when you boil it down, it is like a Dark Souls, a Souls-like, with an anime twist on it. And that's both for the good and the bad, and we'll cover that stuff later on. But basically, your character is what's called a Revenant. These civilians that were left over that got caught up in this miasma are now stuck with this rewriting of their blood code that gives them all an ability. And you, being different, your ability is broken, and it allows you to absorb the abilities of others and to actually be able to dissipate out this miasma that has taken over. So you are tasked with clearing out the miasma so people can look for these blood beads. And what the blood beads are basically is Revenants require blood to keep functioning and to not become thirsty. And when a Revenant becomes too thirsty, they are overtaken and become lost. And the lost are basically your enemies all around the maps and your bosses themselves. Now, in the game itself, they use a lot of different terms for things that I feel is almost a little unnecessary, like ichor and your magic abilities and your haze that you use to upgrade. And it almost doesn't work well because it feels overwhelming because they're trying to throw all this information at you at one time. But basically, to boil it down, is you use haze to upgrade your weapons, your armor, your abilities. Your ichor is basically your magic bar, and you have a magic bar depending on what kind of code you pick, and that varies depending on what kind of abilities you want to use. So as you go through areas, as with the Souls-likes, you will find these little rest spots, this missile area, and that becomes your bonfire. That resets all your enemy placements and allows you just to keep leveling it up and going back through locations. Those mistal areas are also used for teleporting, so you can go in between your locations and go back to later areas for NPC reasons, quest lines, or just go back through and level up. Now, when it comes to your combat, and this is where one of the weaker spots is for me personally, it feels very sluggish. And I don't know if that's just basically because of how they're choosing their combat styles, but you do get a slew of different kinds of weapons, everything from great axes to swords to hammers to more lighter weapons like your rapiers and broadswords to an awesome combo weapon that I have really grown to love, which is the bayonet. You get a stabbing function and also a long-range shooting. Now, as you fight, you get back your ichor, and that'll allow you to keep using magic, or for the bayonet, allow you to shoot it. So it's kind of that Bloodborne system where it wants you to get into the game and fighting, so you get back those magic, so you can keep fighting more. The downside is the combat is almost too slow to attack, that you have to be very, very mindful of when you are swinging your weapons, because you can't cancel out. At least I haven't been able to find out how I could do a dodge roll instead of attacking. I've had it times with the bayonet gun that I've actually shot and I keep pressing the button, and even after I'm done pressing the button, it's still shooting because it's catching up to where I'm at. And that can be really hard because the enemies hit super, super hard. And while you do get a small little health upgrade item out there on the field, kind of like your Estus Flask, it really doesn't do a lot. So you do have to be very mindful of actually going out, telegraphing your hits, and looking for those open areas. Now, one thing the game does tote very strongly is a parry system and a backstab system. Personally, parrying, I can't get down. I've never been very strong in the parrying section. And here, I've tried really hard, and it's almost too difficult for me, so I don't even try it. And the backstabbing, it's so weird because it sometimes doesn't actually work. I could be almost up on top of the guy's shoulders getting ready for a backstab, and I just do a regular light attack. So I haven't found the sweet spot area on that. It's gotten better with time, but it's still not where it should be. Enemy designs themselves all look really good, and you can tell that they've used the concept of revenants becoming lost in their designs, that these look like regular people that are just turned into monsters. They're still wearing their gas masks and still have some features of humanity in them. Very interesting concept, and they all look really good so far. Boss fights have been solid, nothing overly complicated or hard. It's just one of those things that you learn as you go, as with these Souls-likes, and you just figure them out. I would definitely not put on the same level of difficulty as a Dark Souls game, but expect some challenges and a change in playstyle as you're going. Now, one cool thing with the whole blood code situation, since yours is quote-unquote broken, it allows you to mix and match abilities as you get proficient in them. So you can start off with maybe a melee strong character, but there's a ranged attack that you like to keep around. You can switch to that ranged attack and keep using it to become proficient in it. That'll let you put it onto any other of your codes. Or you could just spend your haze and just upgrade it to being proficient and just slap it on yourself. This is a really interesting feature, and you're going to see a lot of cool builds with this. Being allowed to mix and match those abilities is a very unique thing, and it's going to really change how you play overall. Now, being that anime style, you're going to get these anime-looking characters, and I feel like they did a great job, at least in game so far, with making some stellar-looking characters. The downside to the anime, to some, may be the longer cutscenes and the drawn-out dialogue. That's an anime thing. Take it or leave it. Just understand there are going to be some longer cutscenes, especially at the beginning of the game so far. Some of these can take up to what feels to be over 5 minutes. And they're just building the story as these kinds of games do. And they do a good job of it. I don't think the voice acting is overly bad. It's mediocre.
The creatures trapped inside the miasma wander in a never-ending cycle of death and rebirth, always searching for blood beads to sustain them. Revenants need to have blood. Without it, they turn into those creatures we call the Lost. The Revenants who captured you were desperately searching for blood, terrified of losing themselves. It's a common fate these days. But ripples are beginning to form. You cleared the miasma and revitalized the blood spring. Where did you learn to do that? You've forgotten? Anything you do remember? That's unusual.
Sound quality seems pretty spot on. Attacking sounds good. Music soundtrack is really solid so far as well. I wouldn't say anything that is overly amazing, but it feels good for the tone they're going for.
That's where to get started.
One thing to note in this game is the character creator, and I will give them 100% thumbs up on this. I wish more games would give you this amount of detail. You can change so many things from the facial structure to the body structure to specific parts of clothing to be in specific colors and textures and palettes. And there's just thousands, what feels like thousands, of different options for you to make an awesome looking character that is going to be unique to you personally. And that is great. One thing to also note about the combat system is that this game totes something completely different than most other Souls-likes. You actually get a partner. And that's such a unique idea. And so far the partner's been really helpful. Before you go into an area, you have a hub area, and you can actually pick a couple different partners to go with you. And as you go along, you will get to unlock more of them. And they all have their own code abilities as well. And overall, the partner is pretty solid for an AI companion. They definitely heal you. They do well in attacking and well in silent areas until the shit hits the fan, basically. The one annoyance that they do have, I feel like, is they do talk a little too much. You get badgered pretty often of, oh, careful, this is kind of a thin ledge, or hey, look, there's some enemies up there. Maybe we should go this direction, or oh, did you find anything in that chest? And they just kind of keep rattling on sometimes. Even if you open up your menu, they have something to say about it. And that doesn't bother me a whole bunch, but it's something to note that some people will go, you need to be quiet. Now, the map areas and the locations I've been to so far have been pretty solid. They all reside in a ruined city area, so you're going to see a lot of broken up debris and cars and concrete and rust and dirt and dust. And it looks drab, but the pops of color the game does with the reds and the blues all look really stinking good. And I feel like hopefully things get a little different as time goes on. But overall, it's not a bad look, especially for the storyline they're going with here. Now to wrap it up, basically, Code Vein has an okay combat system, a beautiful character creator, a very interesting concept when it comes to the characters in the world itself. Does it fit that itch of a Dark Souls or a Souls-like? And I think it does. I think it does it well enough to stand out a little differently. Some Souls fans will not like this game, and that's understandable. Other ones will like this game. And there'll be vice versa. You'll have some people that love this and don't want to ever touch a Dark Souls. However, I would definitely recommend at least checking it out, taking a look at some combat in there, and maybe renting the game before buying it. But so far, I'm really kind of enjoying it, I feel like. So that wraps up our first impressions for Code Vein. If you're interested in some gameplay footage, click the link to your left. That'll take you to a running playlist of some no commentary content for you. And if you like this or want to see some other videos, click the link to your right. That'll take you to our channel where we have tons of videos going on over there. Until next time, you guys, stay frosty.